Welcome to a new edition of Rugby League Down South, a later published edition this week, and no title and music as well. The story will unfold in a minute. I'll explain quite why. But coming up on the programme today, we will react to the new structures, the Rugby League new era, as the RFL have called it, for our Championship 1 clubs in particular. It's been a rather busy week for myself with a deadline at work. This podcast coming out, I mean, if you're one of those people that download this podcast sort of a couple of weeks later and just catching up, it'll make no difference to you whatsoever. But publishing it a couple of days later because of the mental hours that I've been doing work this week. But the deadline's now done. I can manage to get this sorted, and we will hear from the All Golds. We'll hear from Oxford. Sorry, won't hear from Oxford. That's the one of the clubs we didn't hear from. Coventry, the South Wales Scorpions, and the London SKOLARS as well. Of course, Coventry Bears new for Championship 1 next year. Hear from them in just a second. But thank you for all your comments that you've sent through during the week. As ever, on Twitter at Ian Ramsdale, hashtag RLDS, which stands for Rugby League Down South. You know that by now, I'm sure. Email, if you fancy any time, rldownsouth@gmail.com. This week, the new structures, the new plans for 2015 and beyond were announced by the RFL. I won't go through the entire details because, well, it would fill the podcast to make it even longer than it is currently. But there are plenty of new ideas, most of it coming in towards the sort of middle to top end, with the Super 8s plans for next year when the top two divisions split from 2 12s to 3 8s, and how promotion and relegation is going to be decided, and different promotion from Championship 1, as you'll hear in the programme, and all sorts of things. One thing I haven't got this week is a reaction from London Broncos. It's been a busy week, and I will be back on form next week, get some reaction from the Broncos. So I thought if I'm going to do it, it'd be worth spending the time and getting a good chat, so I thought I'd concentrate on catching up with the League One. Yeah, we've got it League One, can't we? The League One clubs for 2015. Of course, the divisions will be renamed Super League, Championship, and League One. But first of all, I thought we'd catch up with the Coventry Bears because they're new for 2015. They're going to be coming in under this new structure, and they had their season launch, or their announcement, and the confirmation, and the first time that they spoke to the press ahead of that season, probably 2 weeks ago now. But I just managed to catch up with Alan Robinson, the main man behind the Coventry Bears, to find out what they're up to, maybe how they feel about entering the new structure of the competition as well. So here is my chat with the main man at Coventry Bears and Alan Robinson, and there follow all of the interviews with the League One clubs for 2015, which I have got. So they all just trip it back to back. Haven't had time really this week to go through your texts and get them involved in the programmes. My apologies for that. We will get more in next week when I've got a little bit more time on my hands, but do enjoy the interviews. They'll all run end to end, but we'll start with the Coventry Bears and their main man, Alan Robinson. Alan, well, great news that Coventry are going to be in what is now going to be League One next year. This had been talked about for a while. The name Coventry had been circulating. How long have you been planning to get yourself into this position?
We've probably been about the last 3 years, I'd say. The RFL asked for expressions of interest. I may have lost it a number of years now, but it's probably about 3 years ago, I think it was. And we expressed our interest at the time. It was actually a meeting in a hotel in Coventry. And yeah, we expressed our interest, and I think it's probably been a bit of a long-term goal of my own, as well as what we've been trying to do with the club. We've always been striving to sort of develop the club on and off the field, and I suppose for the last few years we've been operating as a business as well, so it was exciting. We thought it could fit because of the sort of developments that we were doing at the time with playing at the Butts Park Arena. We just moved back to the Butts Park Arena in 2011. And it looked like it came around at the right time, really.
And so for how long has it been really real?
It's been very frustrating for a long time, in a way, as well, because we knew, obviously, probably, I suppose, for about the last year, that the restructure was coming. And I think that was one of the reasons why we were sort of put on hold in a way, and that, the RFL didn't know what the structure was going to look like. There's a lot of debate going on at the clubs at the time. Obviously, sort of well reported that some of the Super League clubs were debating this, that, and the other. So we sort of sat patiently, and as well as that, we needed to put the criteria in place, and we want to make sure that it's going to be sustainable when we do go in, and that's something I've been very, very careful of. It's not just a whimsical thing, it's real when you start doing business plans and you start looking at the finances and drilling down into things. And I think that's obviously kind of the backbone of what we've looked at, and we'll put the rugby beside it, of course.
So where are you as a club now? You mentioned, you're obviously playing in a great stadium. I guess part of your sustainability will be the fact that you have fans that come and watch you. I'm sure you've got sponsors and, things that will open up to you even increasingly more next season. So where are you in terms of as a club now?
We've got a full community club behind us at the minute, from under 12s upwards. We've been running that now for a long time, I'd say, I suppose 8 or 9 years, similar to a lot of the other clubs in the south. That's something obviously we put in place, knowing that you've got to have that sustainability there. In regards to the ground, and we knew putting partnerships in place is going to be key. And yeah, we've got the stadium there. It's a really nice stadium right in the centre of town. And I think probably since we moved back to the stadium in 2011, we've been growing the fan base. And I mean, to the point now where I think, we're doing quite well for an amateur club. Crowds, I think the last home game we had about 300 people watching Blackbrook, us play Blackbrook in the NCL.
Very good.
And that was, paying customers, not just people coming through the gate. We've been selling season tickets for the last 3 years as well. And that's really, we've been operating at that level, to a certain level, I suppose, and testing ourselves and challenging ourselves. And then that's allowed us to have, our figures, to be able to show people that, yeah, this is real. It's something that we've developed, something we put a lot of hard work into. It's not just a number on a piece of paper, and I think that's what stood us in good stead with the RFL.
I mean, this next question ties in with the new league structure that the RFL have introduced. Obviously, you're going to be new in the league and new into this structure as well. People have been asking me on Twitter whether clubs, see this as an opportunity to progress up through the leagues, or sort of, do you want to progress up through the leagues? With your business model, what is the idea to try and just compete in the League One as it'll be, or aspire to be in the Championship? I mean, where do you see yourself going over the next few months and years? I guess everyone talks about slow growth, but do you see yourself as a League One club or as a Championship club?
I'm a former player, now working within the business. So, the dream would be one day, Coventry Bears in the Championship, Coventry Bears in the Super League. I think really that is secondary to everything. That wasn't in my mind at all, really, in relation to what we've been developing. I know as a player as well, the level you got to get to, the infrastructures you got to put in place to be able to operate at a championship level, if not above. And it would be scary for me really to start thinking like that. I mean, really, we want to be competitive against the newer teams. I know everybody says that, but we do. Certainly for me, it's all about being a sustainable business. But as well as that, coupling the development of the sport. And I think the exciting thing for us, slightly different to some of the other teams, is we've got a Midlands hub around us of rugby league. There's quite a bit of amateur rugby league going on, but not just that. We've got Birmingham, we've got Northampton, we've got Telford, Wolverhampton. There's a lot of population centres around here. There's a lot of people, and I want to find those rugby league people, and I think if we can start to do that, if we can start to get people through the gate, if we can start to get people following us, if we can start to get people playing the game and attract the right sort of players, which we are starting to do now, I think, Championship wouldn't be a pipe dream, but it's certainly not on our plans at the minute. It's certainly not part of a business plan or any kind of long-term strategy.
I mean, how far can you spread your wings? Because, I talk to sort of Broncos players that have come through the ranks over the last few years, and they talk about, 90-minute journeys around the M25, if not longer, spending hours going to training. If you go from Coventry and go an hour and a half in any direction, that's a long way.
Yeah, well, you can drive from one. I think the beauty of things at the minute for us in the NTL is that we can travel to Manchester in an hour and a half, 2 hours, tipping with the traffic. Probably the same to Yorkshire. So yeah. I guess we've got a clear, pretty 50-mile radius, but the key thing that we have is obviously we've got the M6 on our doorstep, like literally, 3 miles from the ground.
Yeah.
You've got the gateway to the M6 to M1 there, so, but also the other way, towards the southwest, you can go, Gloucester way or Oxford way pretty easily. So, I think the good thing we have going for us is that accessibility aspect, not just for players, but for people and fans. And, we've started to develop, developing a newsletter. I've started to have some people subscribe, from all over the Midlands, and I think it's probably because those people are starting to think, well, I'm in Loughborough, it's only half an hour down the road, or I'm in Birmingham and it's 15-20 minutes down the road. So we've got to realise that potential, and I think when you're an amateur club it's difficult, but we've been focused on the locality and trying to show people the sport. But now that we're in League One, it's like a whole different ball game. So if we can start to realise that in regards to players and fans of rugby league, then fingers crossed that could be a real positive for us.
I know it's difficult sometimes to consider two roles separately, one as a former player and two as the man who's spearheading the Coventry Bears. But when you look at the Coventry Bears side of things and you look at the new league structures, having never been in this league structure, is it an exciting structure to come into? Is it something that you think is better than what's been there this year or the last few years? Is there more opportunities, more possibilities of promotion, more reward for sustainability?
Yeah, 100%. HEMEL, Oxford, Gloucester, just on our doorstep, really. It's 50 minutes to HEMEL from here. We've all got relationships with some of those clubs. I've known Lionel Hurst for a number of years. Yeah. I've known Troy Perkins and Bob Brown in HEMEL for years. Hector McNeil and Mark Costin and the guys at SKOLARS, we all know each other. And I think that's exciting because it's growing that sort of southern hub in that respect, and that we can start to grow on those rivalries and make something of it and actually create that hub for fans and players. We've already had players travelling from Coventry, probably I'd say over the last couple of years we've maybe had about 10 players go to the other clubs, and some of those players are coming back to us now, and it's definitely exciting. Obviously, coupled with that, you want to get some of the big name clubs down and showcase the sport even more. But it's exciting in itself, having the southern clubs there and being able to develop that hub.
Well, thank you for talking to us today. And as we say, we've covered rugby league down south for a while on the podcast. I guess you're not necessarily a southern team, are you? You're Midlands, but we might have to change the name of the podcast to Rugby League not up north or something like that. But we look forward to talking to you more on the programme in the future. Thank you very much, Ian. Not a problem. Pleasure. So that's Alan Robinson of the Coventry Bears. Interesting future that they've got ahead of themselves joining League One as it is for next year. Now, we mentioned those league structures, and one of the big parts of the programme this week will be chatting to all of our clubs to find out exactly how they feel about the developments and the changes on what has been proposed in the Rugby League new era, as the sport have been calling it, the RFL in particular, with their announcements. So we'll hear from as many as the future League One clubs in Rugby League as I managed to catch up with this week. The first one was, the first port of call was the All Golds, and I spoke to their assistant first team coach in Dan Garbutt, a man who knows the rugby league scene in the south very well, been involved for many years now. But here are the thoughts of the All Golds assistant first team coach about the new structures and where this leaves the club. Here is Dan Garbutt. Dan, well, thank you for talking to us. I guess the first question is, with all these structural changes, so much happening, how do you think, or what do you think will be the biggest impact on the All Golds season next year?
Obviously, the changes overall, will have a massive impact on the game. But I think within the sort of League One structure, or as was Championship One, I think the slightly more regionalised aspect of the teams we're playing, will be something that will obviously affect things, both positively and in other ways. I think that's a good thing. I think having the opportunity to really build those sort of challenges against clubs that are kind of maybe more local to us is a real big positive within it. I think the sort of reintroduction of promotion and relegation throughout the whole programme really is will have a massive impact. It gives us a direct line into Super League. Should we be good enough, and should we compete at that level? So in terms of us, inviting support and inviting sponsorship and generally moving forward and putting plans in place, it gives us a structure to be able to work to that provides us for a direct route through.
You mentioned the slight regionalisation, in a way, of League One as it will be known for next year. Do you think is that something that you would have supported as an idea, making it regional, or would you like to see that level of the game be the real, truly national division?
I think it still is a national division in terms of, we still will play, whoever's in that division, I suppose, like your Yorks and your Hunslets and Oldham as it was this year. I think the standard of teams that are going to be coming down, with five teams coming down this year, essentially will make it a truly national division, and a tough one as well. So we're still going to be getting to an opportunity to play against these teams. It just means that we can maybe cement the development of the game down in the south by having really true kind of challenges against these other southern clubs. And everyone in the league this year has had good results against these northern clubs. I know that there is a little bit of a kind of slight difference there with Hunslet and Oldham and York towards the top of the table, but we've had wins at Hunslet. Other teams have done well up there as well, so it's certainly not a league of two halves, really.
And it's funny, the more we talk about it, the more flashbacks I have from the announcements from last week, because League One, in terms of promotion, when it comes to the end of the season, 1 against 2, isn't it, for the first spot, and then sort of the loser with 3, 4 and 5 going into another playoff. I mean, it's a new system. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
I think the system overall is very interesting. I think probably one of the challenges of the RFL faces really is to articulate that. I know I saw the interview with Blake Solly the other day, and he did articulate it very well. But I think within our sport, it's a fantastic program throughout the leagues. Really, I think the promotion relegation and how it works gives the right teams the opportunity to progress. The cream will rise to the top, I think, in it, and that's very much the case with what's happening at League One as well. Like I say, I've talked to a few people outside of the game about it, and the moment you explain it to them, they think it's really innovative and really, really good. I mean, having that, especially at Super League level and at sort of Championship level, having that opportunity to have 7 games to kind of survive or not is fantastic. And I think people will appreciate that outside of the game. It just needs to be articulated, because I think there's still that little bit of confusion about what it actually means. But yeah, overall, from a League One perspective, having a crack to get promoted and then potentially be really competing with some of the sides that are in Super League now, if they were to come down, what an aspirational sort of target that is for everyone at the club.
And in terms of development, you've had a very solid year this year. I guess you got a tough game coming up against York, and not the best result against Gateshead last time out. But in terms of you wanting to develop and progress, do you think that this structure is something that will help you? You mentioned about the introduction again of promotion relegation. Is this something that you think can help you progress even further than where you are now?
Absolutely. We're a club that's very much here to stay, and having sort of solidity and having the opportunity to progress within the game is what will appeal to people down here. The whole, having a kind of glass ceiling on things is, very difficult for people outside of the game to understand. And I think now that there's a direct route through, I think that's got to be good for every club, really. Every club having that aspiration to be in Super League and to be up there. And don't get me wrong, we're not sort of we're very enthusiastic about that idea, and we're not sort of going over the top about it, but there is a definite route there, and we aspire to be there ultimately at some stage.
Well, let's hear from the London SKOLARS now, and their commercial manager, Pat Cluskey, about the new changes for the structure for 2015. Hi, Pat.
Hello, Ian. How are you?
Very well, thank you. What do you think then? League One, as it will be next year, unless you can fight your way out of it, I guess. But what do you make of, generally, the structural changes for 2015?
I think it's like the curate's egg. It's good in parts. I mean, I think the fact that there will be more fixtures from a playing point of view and a momentum point of view, especially the season we've had where, we've won a game, there's been a week off, and then we've not kind of followed up that performance in our next fixture. So that'll be good from a playing point of view and a coaching point of view.
I was going to say, it's been difficult, hasn't it, because of the bye weeks and stuff like that. Championship 1 for the last couple of years has been difficult to get your teeth into. Yeah,
and I think, everybody, whether it be a player or a spectator, wants the regularity of fixtures, hopefully home and away every other week. So you can plan, from a business point of view, and also from a training point of view. Do you bring players in when there's no fixture that week? And if you do you have time to work on skills with them, or is it conditioning? And when at the end of any player, I suppose, at the end of a week, is looking forward to a fixture. And in my opinion, also I'm new to the Championship 1 and obviously League 1 for next season. It is too erratic. I understand there are reasons for that. It's not necessarily a major criticism of the RFL, but hopefully they're trying to respond to that. From a business perspective, though, and I've spoken to a couple of other clubs over the last week or two as well, it is a challenge because the majority of clubs don't make money on their home fixtures. And again, travel costs coming to it for away fixtures. But with regards to the home games, more importantly, it does pose a problem, especially if clubs rent facilities. That they're going to be extra costs coming in there. Obviously, whether adding stewarding into that, adding players' meals, everything that goes with it. So it'll be up to us to work hard to bring more people in through the turnstiles to make sure that we bring enough income in to make sure that we have a profit at the end of the game and not a loss. But saying that, if there is the regularity of fixtures and people know when they're taking place, and we were at home last week, so we're away this week, etc. I believe that people will get into the habit of coming to watch teams. So I think that's the problem, is that this year people haven't got into that habit because they've not been on a home basis. And again, from my point of view, unfortunately, we've had the issue where the new area has not been available, so we've had to relocate up to Enfield. And as great as it's been up there, and Enfield have been fantastic, we have obviously left our home ground for a season, and that has an impact on the business as well.
And what about, or how do scholars feel about the regionalisation? There were stories around that it possibly could be split into two conferences next year, League One. That didn't happen. They've gone for, you play everyone once and then select fixtures which will be decided regionally, which means you'll play obviously more southern teams. I guess it's cheaper for you in terms of having to travel costs, particularly when you look at the teams that are going to be in that division potentially next year. But are you in favour of that? Is that something that you like as a club, or would you like to have seen an absolute level playing field and geographically that stuff goes out the window?
I think personally I'm a big fan of you play everybody home and away. I understand the reasons behind this. Again, for a team to travel from London or South Wales up to Cumbria 2 or 3 times a year, and then Gateshead as well, it's a big ask, not just from the travel costs, but if there's overnight stays involved. I'm sure that whilst it may only be 4 or 5 hours on a journey on occasions, it's not so bad if it's 4 or 5 hours and you're going to watch a fixture. Yeah, so you've got to get there in advance, you've got to prepare for it, you're up early, you sat on a coach for that at a time. It's not the best way for any athlete to prepare for a game. So, if you want to prepare properly, it's overnight stays, and again, there's another cost on that. So the regionalised bits, I think it's a good idea. But as a purist, I suppose, of rugby league over the years, the actual home and away fixtures is my preference. I guess the sensibility factor, though, in Championship 1, in that the teams in that division aren't at a level yet where you can have the ideal scenario. I guess that's probably a way of putting it, isn't it? That's right. And I think the fact that the competition is expanding again, obviously, welcome Coventry Bears coming in there. It's another, I'll say a southern-based club, obviously a Midlands-based club, but again, it bridges the gap between South Yorkshire and HEMEL, I would guess. But so that's a positive. And hopefully, over the next 2 or 3 years, there'll be some more clubs that, Leicester are looking as well to get involved. So again, we are expanding the sport, and that's very important. And I also feel that that whilst Coventry is a rugby union and Leicester a rugby union area, there will be plenty of athletes who will be able to move into the sport, and that's got to be good for the game overall.
What about Skolars then? You've had to move your Friday Night Lights fixture up to Enfield because of the developments at the New River. I guess it's a very satisfactory solution, having the availability on that evening, although I'm sure you'd love to be back at the New River, but I guess if you couldn't be there, Enfield was the obvious and probably the most sensible option.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, obviously we had to wait until middle to, I think about 17th of July it was, before the actual Ryman League fixtures came out.
Yeah.
And thankfully, the Enfield Town were away on the following day, which is obviously a blessing. Although they do have a game on Bank Holiday Monday, so it's there is still going to be a quick turnaround for them. But it's a great venue. Obviously, it may not be on a tube, but there are links from central London by train. It's not particularly far. Hopefully, it'll be a great night. We're just planning the whole event. We have a new administration and events manager taking over, a lady called Caroline Flowers, and she's working with Enfield Town and Enfield Ignitions to make sure that that Friday Night Lights will be the event that it normally is. Okay, there'll be some differences.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think it'll hit your attendances as such?
Could possibly, because people are used to coming Piccadilly line to the ground here, but the kickoff will be 7:30 rather than 6:30, so it gives people a little bit more time to come into it. Again, the finalists in the Challenge Cup might have an issue or be an issue rather, because, for example, if Leeds Rhinos get through, and obviously Hunslet are opposition, it might attract some Rhinos fans to come down and watch.
Of course, the
Hunslet side. So that's a possibility. But we're going to work hard. We're going to be into Enfield and trying to promote the fixture there. And you've got obviously the Masters games going on beforehand. We hope to have a under 15s game. East Leeds are due down from Yorkshire to play as well. So we are doing our best under the circumstances to make it a good event, because it is an event. It's not just a one game. But what we will find again is that hopefully by August next year we'll be in a situation where the New River will be a fantastic venue. We'll have the 4G pitch, new floodlights, new facilities, and we'll get people back here. But I think rugby league fans are very used to not discomfort, but being put on a little bit. And I think those people who have been in the past know what a good night it is, and it's not an insignificant journey from either King's Cross or Liverpool Street to up to Enfield, and we hope to see them there on the evening.
Absolutely. And then just finally, when you turn around in your office at the desk, you look out the window over the New River Stadium. What are you looking at the moment? How does it look these days?
Well, there's been, up until yesterday, there hadn't been a great deal of work going on, but they've now started to lay some white sheeting down, and there's lots of stones on top of it, and the rest of the pitch is as it was on the last pictures that we tweeted. But work has restarted, and there's been diggers here all day, and they're working on the 3G pitch, which is to our left, and also on the proposed 10 five-side pitches on the far side behind the terracing. So, it's still a work in progress, and we believe it's going to be October, November before it's all completed now. Unfortunately, there's some legal ramifications between Haringey Council and Fusion Lifestyle, who are the landlords. That's been resolved, and we're just waiting for them to move on. It's disappointing we can't have Friday Night Lights here for a number of reasons. It'd be a great way to kick off the life of the new stadium by having such a big fixture here. But it gives us a chance, maybe when the season kicks off in January time, to stage another game here and have that as the birth of the stadium. And I think anybody who has seen matches on 4G pitches of the league or union, and we saw it at Cardiff House Park at the weekend, it's a great surface to play on. Makes it very quick both for the game itself, and we're looking forward to having that facility here at London Scholars.
Well, let's get the thoughts of the South Wales Scorpions now and their head coach in Mike Grady. Mike, a new structure for 2015. You'll be in League One next season. Are you excited? Are you eagerly anticipated ahead of the new year?
Looking forward to it, really. It's the 14-team league with Coventry coming in, which, again, is another exciting prospect. So I'm looking forward to going to Coventry. And we have 5 teams coming down, which will be 5
Tough teams.
Five championship teams, so there'd be 5 established teams, so it'd be good to play the established teams and test ourselves against teams like that.
Of all the changes, dual registration is staying. There's going to be a new promotion relegation between the leagues and stuff. I mean, where do you think, or what do you think is going to affect the South Wales club the most?
Tough one. Dual registration, we don't use it. I've purposely stayed away from that. I'm looking at developing the South Wales lads, so that's not going to affect us in any way, because I'm going to continue with that philosophy. I want to develop the guys that are down here. Promotion, good. Two people do go up. There's the guys that finish at the top of the league, and then there's a second team going up in the playoffs. So might be a bit ambitious for me to say anything like that now, but you've got to be in it and win it, in it to win it. So if 2 teams go up, that'd be a great incentive for all the clubs in the league.
I was going to say, I mean, it's a 1 versus 2 playoff, isn't it? First to decide the first spot, and then sort of the loser goes in against 2, 3, 4, 5. But for that promotion, I mean, does it give you the opportunity now to, if you are at that end of the league, which everyone aspires to be, it is something to play for, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. If you get in that top 5, top 6, what it is, top 5, there's 2 going up, so there's plenty of opportunity there. And as you say, if we can manage to get at the right end of the table, that's something we've got to aim for. But as you know from this year, we'll take 1 step at a time, and we'll see how things go.
I guess that's not a change, really, is it, to this year? Because there is the possibility and the option of promotion this season for teams that are playing in what's obviously now called Championship 1. In terms of your future development, though, I mean, is it going to make too much of a difference? You're looking at on the field. We talked in previous weeks about buying and selling of players and getting a squad ready for next year. I guess that sort of the announcement didn't really affect those things at all.
No, it's not really. No, it's good to know in advance what's happening and what's going on and what the league structure is going to be. But it's not going to affect us. We're still going to be playing week in, week out, and we still got to perform week in, week out. So it's not so much down our end. But as you say, there's the 2 teams that are going up, so that's probably the real. Oh, there is a cup competition as well, which we've not touched on. Yeah. There's a League One cup competition. Which
is that a welcome addition?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, if any chance of silver was fantastic for the club and for the players themselves. So the League One competition with 2 of the best amateur sides taking part in it as well. So I'm looking forward to that. It's another opportunity to get a bit of silverware if we can do that, and it's a great incentive for the club and the players.
It was always difficult, wasn't it, in the old Northern Rail Cup days? The Championship 1 clubs were never really in with a shot. And in the same way, when you look at, the Challenge Cup, it's unlikely, it's unusual for a Championship club to go all the way or too far in the competition these days because of the strength of Super League. This gives you something, I guess, silverware-wise, to play for as well as that promotion relegation. I mean, but it's a lot of games, isn't it, next year?
Yeah, it's a lot of games, and as you say, it's tough to go far in the current competitions that we have due to the strength of Super League and with it being full time. But this competition, yeah, it is a couple of extra games, but you play them extra games to get a trophy at the end of it, wouldn't you? And it's just a nice incentive, and it'd be good for the lads. And I'm looking forward to it. There's everything about the league and the structure. It looks exciting, and I can't wait to get into it.
On your on-field activities at the moment, great result at the weekend. Sounds like a great game. Sounds like a great experience. Loads of people, Cardiff Arms Park, and beating the SKOLARS.
It was a fantastic day, if I'm honest, and one of the best days so far. It's very surreal. It's tough to explain unless you were there. The crowd was very vocal. There was nearly 500 there, which is the best attendance of the season so far. And
did that help you?
Oh yeah, it did. On that point, a couple of the players said when we were 18-12 down, the vocal support was a real support for the lads, and they could hear them, and it spurred them on at times. So it's fantastic, and it was a welcome support.
We spoke last week on the programme to an amateur side that had won a game 19-18, and it was 18-all at half-time in their game. Extraordinary. But just tell us, there's always a story behind the 1-point drop goal. How did it happen?
Well, I think we had, I don't know, it was 5 or 10 minutes of the game to go, and it was one of them games where I don't think either side was cracking. So we have a call for the drop goal. I put that call on, and it didn't materialise. One of our lads went the wrong way, and I was thinking it's not going to happen. But we were lucky enough to get the ball back, and Paul Emanuele, my assistant coach, he knocked it over about 30 yards out to the left of the sticks, and that was it. Then it was managed to get us through to the end of the game.
I've always wondered when it comes to the 1 point drop goal and the different calls and stuff like that. I mean, as a coach, did you're saying there you did send on that instruction to go for it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we do have it is a set call which goes back to me days coaching at Warrington Wizards, which I've kept. So half of the lads knew the call because half of them were saying, "What was that?" We've never been in that situation, have we? So I think half of them were scratching their head, but my assistant coach knew, and he got it set up, and he ended up putting it over.
And obviously, you don't want to say what the call is, but I mean, all these calls, do they all have different names? They all have different numbers? How do they materialise themselves?
Just a different number. It just happened to be something that was a feature at our old ground with Warrington Wizards. We played at Wilderspool, Warrington Wolves old stadium, and it just happened to be a feature at the stadium, and it's stuck ever since, the name.
So you just shout 4,614 and everyone knows what they're doing?
Yeah, well, my assistant coach did, so that's all I needed to do. We've never been in that situation, have we? We were 18 also. Half the lads were looking at me scratching their head, I think.
But obviously a great result and a great experience. You talked about the crowd that were there, over 500. And I think I read in the League Express this week that the guy at Cardiff Arms Park, who I think it's the company that run the place, said, please come back.
Oh, yeah, I think everything about the day, it was fantastic. And as you say, Cardiff Arms Park, the people there were very welcoming, and everything was great for us. There was a couple of games on, they were in out changing the changing room within 5 minutes, and food was on for every team. It was fantastic, just the little things that made a difference and made the day run smoothly, and to get the win sort of helped as well, didn't it?
Since then, you've had Player of the Week, Team of the Week, a couple of players in Team of the Week as well. I mean, it's not been a bad week for you, has it?
No, it's been okay. We had, as I spoke about, my assistant coach Paul. He was Championship 1 Player of the Week. We've had Performance of the Week, Championship Performance of the Week,
yeah.
and 3 players in Team of the Week, including my captain Phil Carlton. So I made up for the good times. Haven't been they've been few and far between this season. So when we do get them, we enjoy them, and then obviously kick on. And we've got a game in 2 weeks now, so we'll wrap it up to yesterday, today, and then we'll get on with work.
And just a quick final question. We just heard from SKOLARS on the podcast. Obviously, not the best day for them, not the best season for them. From your coaching point of view, how are the SKOLARS this year? I mean, obviously, they're not firing on the cylinders that they used to.
It's difficult. They're not a bad team. We just played well, and I think a lot of things. When we won them 2 games against them, a lot of people think, SKOLARS must have been bad, but we actually played very well on both days. I think Joe's doing a fantastic job there. He has got a good side together, and I've said it previously. On the day, anyone could beat anyone if you play how you should play. And it's just fortunate on them 2 days we come up with a result, and it happened to be against London twice. So I do think they're a good side. I don't think there's much between any team in the division.
And is Joe dealing all right with the pressure? I mean, I've not spoken to him for a few weeks. He's not the best person to talk to when they're on a losing run. But is he handling all right? I'm sure you chatted to him the weekend.
I imagine he is. He seems very, very laid back, a very laid back bloke, and he's a good fella to get on with. So I imagine he's taking everything in his stride, just like I've done all season. You got to have a look, have a smile, and get on with things.
Well, let's chat to Troy Perkins of HEMEL STAGS, their head coach. Troy, what do you think, these new structures? As a man who's obviously been in the game, both here and down under, for a number of years, is this, in general, innovative?
Yeah, I think it's grown on me, to be honest. I think it makes sense in a way that there's a lot more to play for right up until the end of the season. There's relegation or obviously promotion for those clubs in the middle of the range clubs. From a HEMEL perspective, it doesn't really change a lot, to be honest. Next year it will, because 5 teams come down, but after that, I mean, doesn't change a lot unless we got promoted. So next year will be difficult with the likes of Swinton, Barrow, and it looks like probably Whitehaven and Rochdale coming down as well. So that's tough. But yeah, I mean, the funny thing is that we're only 1 division below Bradford Bulls and London Broncos. So
yeah.
Who would have thought that a couple of years ago?
Absolutely.
We'd only move 1 division below them, but. Yeah, I think it's a bit confusing, but as I said, I've sort of got my head around it now, and I think it's exciting times, and if it creates a bit more interest in the game and brings more people through the gate, I think it's a good thing.
It's probably not a bad summary, that, isn't it? That a bit confused at the time, but you look into it, you get used to it, and I'm pretty sure that people will get used to it. In terms of one thing I've not mentioned to anybody else really on the podcast so far, the bonus point possibly coming to Super League. I don't know. They're going to adopt 1 point system. Do you like it? Does it bring something to your games in Championship 1?
Yeah, I think it's a big thing, and it probably got us into the playoffs last year, bonus points, and it might do a similar thing this year. So I think it's a good thing because you've got your old traditionalists that think if you don't win, you shouldn't come away with any points. But I think if you come close, I think sometimes you deserve a bit of a reward. And I mean, even this year we've been beat by 2 points, 3 points, and 6 points, and those 3 losses have given us 3 points, which is actually the same as a win. So I'm a big fan of the bonus points. So I know that they'll either bring bonus points in the Super League or they'll actually take bonus points away from all the divisions. So,
would you be sad to see them go out of the Championship?
I would be. Yeah, I would be. As I said, it's a reward for being competitive, and as I said, some people think that you shouldn't be rewarded for losing, but I'm sort of the opinion that if you come close, and especially, for example, if we go away to Gateshead on the weekend, the long journey, and get pipped by 2 points or whatever, we're actually coming away with a point that's going to climb us up, help us climb up the table, which is a good thing. So I'm a fan of it.
What about the anomaly, though, where potentially you're going to have sides that with bonus points, with fewer wins are finishing above others? Do you have an issue with that?
Well, if you look at it like that, there is some people who would, but no, not. I mean, we're sitting in front of Gateshead at the moment, and we've won 1 less game than them, so we're in a similar situation now. But I think, as I said, 3 narrow losses equates to a win. So I'm supportive of it.
This weekend, you mentioned your trip to Gateshead. One name who you're going to be on the coach in the car taking up there, Kieran Dixon, not a man who's never pulled on a HEMEL shirt before. Of course, he came through the club, but now on his road back to recovery under Broncos sort of watchship at the moment. But he's had a long time off, nearly a year, isn't it? But he's going to be playing with you at the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's been agreed for a couple of months now that Kieran will make his comeback through the Stags, and it's a massive lift for us, and for the team, but also for the club, and it's created a bit of interest in the club as well. Kieran's a proven star of Super League, and I think that he'll be a welcome addition for the next couple of weeks for us. And I spoke to Kieran last night, and there's no pressure on him from my point of view, and just good to get him back on the field. And I'm not worried about him scoring tries or making breaks or anything. It's just a case of getting him on the field, getting him some game time, and anything after that's a bonus. It's more about the player.
What has Joey said to you? What has Joey said to you about playing him? Anything he wants to get from it?
Yeah, well, he'll start on the bench on the weekend, so he'll probably get 30, 40 minutes, just to sort of work his way into the matches again, and then probably the following week he'll be ready to play 80. So we just obviously I'd like him playing 80 minutes from the word go, but we've got to look after the player. We've got to sort of follow what Broncos want. So we're just going to drip feed him into the game again, and he may be pretty dangerous. At the back end of the first half against some tired defenders. So that's what we're going to do with him, and just take it from there. But as I said, it's all about a local junior coming back to the club and getting game time in an environment that he used to be through as a young kid.
Where are you going to play him?
He's going to train tonight and see how he goes, but he'll probably play on a wing with, but give him an opportunity to roam around the field and look for a bit of work. We've got a fullback that's played nearly every game for us this season in James Cameron, so it's a bit unfair to move him. Yeah. So we'll play him on a wing, and as I said, he'll have a free role.
And how do you sort of approach it in terms of, I'm pretty sure if Gateshead see the name Kieran Dixon on the team sheet, whether it be on the bench or not, he sort of becomes a target. They know that he might not be quite at full fitness and stuff. They're gonna target him. I mean, it's probably a bit immoral to say it, but how do you go about combating that?
I think he's a good enough player. I'm sure Leeds Rhinos, St Helen, Bradford have all targeted him in the past. he's not the biggest bloke in the world, but obviously he's stepped up to the mark in Super League. I think playing against Gateshead will be an issue, and we've got some blokes out there to look after him if he's getting a bit of pressure put on him. But I think I think Gateshead will target him a bit. They'd be mad not to, in a key player, but I think he's more than up to the task. And he's been sent down here to play, and he's ready to play. It's not like he's carrying injury or he's at 80%. The only thing missing is a bit of match fitness, and that shouldn't be an issue with him, with the amount of game time he's going to get on Sunday.
And that's it then for Rugby League Down South for this week. Hope you enjoyed those interviews. Again, apologies that I've not managed to get many of your, not managed to get any of your texts and your tweets, not your texts, your tweets in the programme this week. We'll get your thoughts in next week, and we'll hopefully have more reaction to the new era of rugby league and any sort of kick-on topics and anything else that needs investigating over the next few days. Apologies if you are an avid listener of the programme and I've delayed your listening by a couple of days, but I do hope you've enjoyed the programme, and I will be back next week at some point. It might be Tuesday, it might be Wednesday, hopefully Tuesday next week with another podcast for you here on Rugby League Down South. Thank you once again for listening.